Happy lunch hour, gang. Okay, interesting news, good news as far as I'm concerned, coming out of Washington overnight. Y'all know the story that happened here, last week with our lovely Indian truck driver, right, Mr. Singh, who killed 3 people because he was an idiot, making a U-turn on the highway in an authorized vehicle only spot, and as they said, jackknifed the truck, but that's not accurate. He was doing this on purpose. Well, Sean Duffy, who's the Secretary of Transportation, came out overnight and basically said to California, as well as New Mexico and Washington State, you got to get better with your licensing. Otherwise, we're cutting off federal funds. In other words, you need to find somebody that speaks English before you give them a driver's license. Now, you think about it, Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas was the first one to enforce this law and pull over drivers, this was a few months back, and give them an English test on the spot. And if they couldn't pass the English test, they were pulled out of their truck and parked, and that was it, okay? Because we're getting a problem with truck drivers not understanding the rules of the road, okay? Now, how many of you encounter trucks? Nothing against truck drivers, all right? There's a lot of good, qualified truck drivers. We need truck drivers in this country. That's how everything moves. There is no railroad track pulling up to the back of your grocery store unloading cans of Skippy peanut butter, okay? The trucks bring everything in. But we need to keep the roads safe. And so I did a little bit of digging on this after seeing what the numbers were, seeing what was going on in California, in New Mexico, in Washington State. Now, there's about 3 million, according to the National Truckers Association, about 3 million registered semi-trucks. Obviously, there's a lot of other commercial vehicles, but 3 million registered semi-trucks. And the NTA again, estimates that at any given hour, on any given day, there's somewhere between 1.5 and 2 million trucks on the road. We all encounter them. Granted, I don't see as many around here, being out in rural Tennessee, but there's a Lazy Boy factory up here. Yeah, there's trucks that come out every once in a while. The grocery store trucks come through. Sure, you still have to share the road with them. But then you start to wonder, it's like, okay, how many of these truck drivers are, let's just use the term responsible? Now, again, going with the American Trucking Association. The American Trucking Association estimates that between 2 and 2.5% of any drivers on the road at any given time are under the influence of either drugs or alcohol. That in itself is scary, okay? They estimate that, get this, 27.6% of truck drivers, better than 1 in 4, are drug users, and 21.3% of truck drivers use amphetamines. That's scary. 1 in 4 on drugs, 1 in 5 on amphetamines, okay? Okay, maybe they're doing this after they got off their shift or whatever. You know, truck drivers that keep a log. Well, now it's electronic, but keeping a log, they can only drive so many hours, then they've got to take so many hour break. Gee, I finished my 8-hour shift. I got 4 hours off. Let's light one up. Okay, that's an issue. You start looking at where these potential problems wind up. Okay, and again, I'm telling you about New Mexico, California, and Washington State. On not being able to speak English, so not being able to read road signs. How about this one? And again, California being the big one. 47% of the truck drivers on the road in California, almost half, are foreign born. Most of them coming from Mexico, but also El Salvador, Guatemala, India, Ukraine, and Poland. If you've got half the truck drivers that English isn't their native language, isn't their first language, how many of them can read the signs well enough? Okay, you know a red octagon is a stop sign, but what else can't they read? We go back to Mr. Singh, who got 2 of 12 English words right in his test. This is a problem we get into all of our safety. And when everybody starts complaining about deportation, right? Again, Mr. Singh was here as an illegal, but we gave him a driver's license. Thanks, California. 3 people are dead because of that idiot decision. How many of the rest of them are dangerous? This is where I say the good truck drivers, some of which probably watch this channel, okay, need to start being active in calling out their brethren and say, this guy shouldn't be on the road. And yeah, I know maybe it's not calling your dispatcher or anything. No, this is call the state police and say, this guy doesn't know English. This guy shouldn't be on the road. And let the cops handle it. Let them get these guys off the road. Because those 3 people woke up that morning and did not expect to be in a coffin at the end of the day. You never know when it's going to happen to you. I know when I'm driving down the highway, I try to stay away from semi-trucks. I'm very careful not to ride in their blind spot. I do not like driving behind them because I can't see around them, so I don't know if there's something up in front. Certainly, I don't know if the guy is one of the 2 to 2.5% that's under the influence of something. You don't know how long they've been driving. I mean, not only years of experience, but hours on the road that day. You don't know if they know where they're going. And it doesn't take much. I don't care what you drive. Unless you've got a tank, you're going to lose in an accident to an 18-wheeler. This is a good thing. This is more deportation. We are bringing people in on H-1Bs, H-2B visas to drive trucks. Really? We don't have enough truck drivers in this country? There's no truth to that whatsoever either. This is another place where companies are taking advantage of the immigration system and putting dangerous people on the road because they can save a few pennies a mile putting this guy behind the wheel of a truck as opposed to the guy who knows road signs, the guy who speaks English, the guy who's got a wife and kids at home that he wants to, or the lady that has a husband and kids at home, that wants to go home and see them, as opposed to the guy who's, I need to send money back to my family back in Punjabi or Mexico City or whatever. No, we don't need this. Again, Trump going through last week and saying we're going to review all of these visas, everything. Let's start talking about safety. And Duffy's right in doing this. If California, if New Mexico, if Washington want federal funds, California wants federal funds for everything. Gavin Newsom never met a dollar he couldn't figure out how to spend 5 times. Yeah, they need to get with the program and start putting Americans first again. This is our safety. It's bad enough when you call customer service or you need a software designer or something and they don't speak English. But when somebody is behind the wheel of a lethal weapon and they can't speak the language, they can't read the street signs, no. That's how we wind up with more and more dead people. You want a no-gun zone, a gun-free zone? I want a illegal-free trucking zone. And that should be every inch of every mile of every road in this country. Pinball out.